What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the weekly watch list video brought to you by DeepView. That's platform you see right here, and it's my daily driver for screening, charting, watch list, alerts, and a whole lot more. Highly recommend checking it out below at deepview.com, as well as the link should be popping up right now. Today, we're going to dive into my weekly focus list, talk through the setups, what I'm watching for, and cover their charts as well. And I'll try to be as concise as possible. So let's go ahead and start things up. We've got ADBE, Adobe. We've got the daily chart over here on the left-hand side, the 65-minute time frame. This is kind of the setup I like when I'm actually trading, as well as looking for those key levels. We've got RMV here, relative volatility, as well as the stats table to get a sense of the fundamentals as well. Super cool. In DeepView, you can analyze the technicals and fundamentals right in one pane. And I close this up when, I'm doing my final kind of level work, but we do have the data panel, which can show more fundamental information. But let's go ahead and hide that for now. So ADBE, earnings coming up. We've got the handy flag in DeepView, September 14th, but it's been acting well. You can see it's right above this key pivot on the daily chart. Not a great bar on Friday, but we do have some support into the end of the day. Pick up in volume as well, and I'll be watching for fall through to the upside and see what can happen before earnings as well as after earnings as well. CLS, definitely very tight. You can see that on the daily, RMV going to zero. Maybe we get a gap down and kind of recovery of these lows. That would allow you to manage risk really nicely, but we'll have to see what happens as this very tight range, very tight range resolves. But overall, very strong stock. You can see it's gone from 11 to now 23 in just a few months, and it's definitely worth keeping an eye on, especially for more of a swing trade, day trade type opportunity. CYBR, this theme is pretty strong. I've got ZS and OKTA as well on this list. This is a pretty big base here. It's basically been basing since 2019. I remember trading this back then, but it's just peaking above the longer term kind of base level. And what I would like to see right now is just a drift lower, consolidation a little bit, and then a push higher on volume. You can see it's tightening a little bit, but still a little bit wide and loose in here. And we'll have to see what happens. But this overall theme is one I'm definitely focused on. It's kind of shown itself to be pretty good. I think I like the ZS chart a little bit better, but we'll get to that at the very end. Moving on, we've got DLO, nice action, gap up, consolidation, tightened up in here, pushed higher, tightened up again, just kind of drifting lower volume. There's nothing much here, especially to the negative side, but we'll have to see what happens. And I'm watching for push through this high as well as this high range around 21, 22 or so. And overall, really nice growth numbers. We've got an EPS surprise as well. Basically in DeepView, you can hover over any quarter and you get to see, what was that quarter and also what was that EPS surprise, both in percentage or in dollar if you would like to. DO representing the energy and oil and gas names. These are a potential leading group. Many of those names, already pushed higher. MPC, VLO. This one's setting up the right side of a base, watching for a push through this level. You can see consolidation right now, right around 15.65. See if we can continue to push higher. Ideally, you get maybe an inside day before that happens, and then you can use kind of that tight area right above the anchored view at from highs, as well as compressing near the 50 SMA. GTLB, this is moving off the bottom, still in stage 1 overall, but nice constructive action, earnings, nice breakout here. And you can see it's moving up the right-hand side of this base, nice action versus the 200-day, pushed higher. And now I'm watching for a handle to form. We've got this level to the downside, this level to the upside, and we'll see what happens to see if this can firm up. But really nice revenue growth expectations as well as earnings expectations. You can see we had a surprise profit here, and it's supposed to be profitable the next few quarters, and earnings guidance is being revised upwards. Definitely a good sign, and definitely a young IPO to have on your radar. Still very early within this story. Moving on, we've got IONQ, one of the most powerful names this year. I like to see it tighten up again, maybe have an inside day, a double inside day. A little bit choppy the past 3 days, but I'm watching for some type of consolidation before it tries to push through these highs here. You can see on the RMV, it's still a little bit wide and loose relatively. IoT, watching for compression tight range to form, maybe one more inside day right here. That would set up nicely for continuation to the upside. Nice look here on the 65-minute time frame. We've got this HVC around 30.46. That's consolidating, right above at this moment. So definitely want to watch. It could push higher Monday even, but we'll have to see what happens. RMB is tightening nicely. KD, data processing, AKAM is another name that looks pretty good, but this is consolidating right near these highs. And you can see it lines up with a larger pattern as well. And I'm watching for a push higher on volume, RMV going to 0. Very nice action. MELI, this is a little bit short-term extended, but it's a strong stock with really nice growth here. This is more kind of the liquid leader type names, but it's acting well, and I'm basically watching for more of a consolidation, ideally one more week. Let that 21 EMA catch up to price. I found when I try to trade these ranges further from this moving average, I've got a smaller win rate, but I know a lot of people like to trade these versus the 10-day moving average. So depending on your style, you could have this one on your radar. But again, this is just kind of potentially emerging into a new stage 2 uptrend. Netflix, this is a little bit of a flaw, this gap down, but it's consolidating right at that level. Pretty tight action the past 2 days. And on the 65-minute time frame, really nice action. You've got pivots right above 443. And just watching for a push higher on volume in this name. And you've got some decent growth expected, especially considering there's a mega cap. Earnings revisions and sales revisions are down, however. But we'll have to see. There's the catalyst where they're switching up their subscription model and forcing more people to make accounts. A lot of people have been sharing accounts, and they're kind of cracking down a little bit on that, which could lead to some nice growth. NVIDIA, forming a range right near the 50 SMA, kind of 2 tight days above the 50 SMA, below the 21 EMA, and just watching to see how this resolves itself to see if it can hold near this area. OKTA, really powerful up here, still stage 1. You can see it was in a very disastrous stage 4 decline, but now very nice push higher. Looking at earnings, nice surprise, 48%. Revenue surprising a little bit as well. It's pushed higher a little bit already, so again, more of a continuation move, day trade, swing trade type setup here. But if it consolidates more, that could set up a bigger move, and definitely want to see how this resolves itself. This overall theme, the cybersecurity theme, if you hover over this, you can see what it does, is acting pretty darn well. Moving on to RIVN, low cheat setting up here with a pivot right near 23.85. Watching that for a push higher on volume. Really nice power up here, the right side. Failed a little bit, set up a base, and looking at this is about a 30% deep base, so that's pretty typical. And now it's pushed higher, nice action, wedge pop here on this day, and now setting up the EMA crossback if you follow Oliver's methodology. Moving on, we've got Tesla also in the EV space, compressing here. We'll see which way this breaks, either to the upside or downside. A little bit weak here on Friday, but yeah, we'll see what happens with this mega cap. Revisions you can see don't look too great, but don't count Tesla out. We'll have to see what happens with this name. Uber acting well, nice compression versus the 50 SMA was viable here versus this moving average. Nice upside reversal. It broke under this range and retook it. That would have been a really prime spot to get it, either as it broke through this low, that would have been an oops reversal as well, or above these highs, and it acted well the rest of Friday as well as Thursday, or Thursday as well as Friday. But you could watch for an inside day and then a push higher through this consolidation pivot, 47.70. And lastly, we've got ZS, again in the cybersecurity theme. Nice action, consolidating right below this base pivot, and basically want to see a breakout on large volume. Really nice growth numbers. Revisions are up. That's great. Revenue growth around 20%, 30%. Earnings growth decelerating a little bit, but still pretty strong. So we'll have to see whether this can start a stage 2 uptrend. So those are kind of the names I'm watching for next week. Let me know your thoughts, your favorites down below. And if there's others that you are watching very closely, let me know your kind of top 1 or 2 down below. I definitely would love to hear what you guys are thinking, and I'll try to give as many of my thoughts as possible if you do leave some names down below. So overall, there's a lot of decent setups out there. I've got a pretty wide watch list this week. The QQQ is at a key spot right near the 50 SMA, could go either way. The IWO is a lot weaker. We talked about this yesterday with my stock market outlook video. So, the market is going to set the tone, and we'll have to see how this setup resolves itself. Be open to any scenario, manage risk with every single trade, take things day by day, and we don't have to predict. All we have to do is analyze things in the moment. You can definitely have expectations, but be prepared either way, have a plan if things resolve to the upside or to the downside. So with that, thank you so much for tuning in. Hopefully you found this helpful. If you did, please consider leaving a like down below. Leave a comment. I always appreciate that. And if you are new and want to see more videos just like this every single week, definitely go ahead and click that subscribe button. So with that, I hope you guys have a great rest of your weekend, and best of luck next week. And I'll see you guys in future videos. Take care.